I'm Matt Penellum. I am a principal engineer at AECOM in the St Albans team. I have been an engineer for 8 years now, and I specialise in building engineering, and specifically heritage refurbishment is where I've spent most of my time in my early career. Um, I became a structural awards judge by winning the Young Engineer of the Year award last year. So this was my first time judging, and I'm one of the babies, I suppose. um, but yes, I've had a great time doing my first year, and uh, excited for the awards. I'm quite fortunate that actually one of the dream projects that I would like to work on, I actually already have worked on. For the last 4 or 5 years, have been working on the refurbishment of Big Ben, which ranks pretty highly in terms of amazing heritage buildings that I could have worked on. So I suppose that's what I'll struggle with from now on in my career, is I feel as if I've already peaked quite early, and it would be quite hard for any other project to match up to that. Um, but yes, I suppose really as a third more generic dream project, any opportunity to be involved in the transformation of a historic and significant building, I think those are the projects I get the most excited about. The Elizabeth Tower project was shortlisted last year for the awards, and so that was my first experience of the awards as an entrant rather than as a judge. So having seen it from both sides, I think last year I was incredibly nervous going to the dinner, hoping that we were going to win, which unfortunately we didn't. We were edged out by Battersea Power Station. So this year I'm quite enjoying going, already knowing the answers and not being the one waiting to have my name called out. I would definitely encourage people to enter, even though we didn't win. We weren't successful with our entry last year, because actually the process of thinking about the project in the four categories now helps you, even after the fact of finishing the project, it helps you to really think about what you would have done differently in the future and how the project and the work that you've done responds to those four key challenges, which are really, in many ways, the four key areas where we as structural engineers need to be focusing our efforts and attention. So actually, even as a personal learning exercise from the project, there's real value in entering, aside from the fact that going to the awards dinner is a lot of fun and it's the opportunity to win a really prestigious award. I think that the transition to the four attributes that we now have, and I believe this is the third year where we've been judging against the new attributes. I think changing the focus to the four attributes of planet, process, people, and profession does change the way that not just the institution, but I think the whole industry thinks. Because obviously the structural awards are the pinnacle, if you like, of celebration of projects in our industry. So if people are looking ahead to entering for an award or aspire to win one of these prestigious awards, then by the nature of how the awards are now judged, you would have to be focusing on one of these attributes. So it's a clear indication, I think, from the institution that we as an industry and as a profession now need to be dedicated to tackling the climate emergency and making sure that the projects that we work on have a benefit for the communities where we're working and are sustainable for the future. To be in the room with those people and sharing their insights has been really exciting. I think that was my highlight. And in terms of the biggest challenges, I think the flip side of that is obviously that being one of the younger judges and having had one of the shorter careers, trying to overcome the imposter syndrome of getting my points across when I'm talking to somebody who's had a long and star-studded career was a bit tricky, but I like to think I managed it. In fact, I probably said too much in the meetings. In the in-person meetings, every judge was responsible for putting the case forward for the projects that they would like to be shortlisted. And then through the course of a discussion with all of the other judges, each bringing their own experiences, interpretations of the attributes, and um, their own often different backgrounds, the projects that best responded to the four attributes were shortlisted, and that's a shortlist of about 30 projects. So I think that the change to the four new attributes has changed the type of projects and the focus of the projects that are entered into the awards. So we very much see now in the entries a clear focus on sustainability and the response to the climate crisis, and how the project that's been entered fits into a future of the industry that would be sustainable and lower carbon. And I think the other thing that's interesting is we also see projects that wouldn't have naturally fitted into a specific structural category in the old format that are now entered. So often that would be smaller projects or projects where they're that don't necessarily fit into a clear box. So you see a lot more interesting cross section of the whole industry rather than just a bridges project or a new build or a high rise project or whatever they would have been. You see, because the four new attributes apply across the whole spectrum of projects that we work on, anybody I think feels as if they can now enter, which is great because you see projects that I don't think people would have put forwards before now being entered and often doing really quite well. And I think the last thing that was interesting is that the four attributes as they are now set give greater freedom to the judges to just judge every project on its merits. So there is no desire to have a short list of, well, we have to have 4 of this type of project and 5 of this type of project. Any project can be shortlisted as long as it responds to one of those 4 quite broad new attributes. So what I think is that the shortlist represents the 30 best projects that were entered, not just ones that fit into the correct categories. So I think that's a positive change as well. What I would say to anybody who has entered the awards and has made the shortlist is definitely come to the dinner. It's a great night. There's representation from across the industry, across the world. Some real leading people in the industry will be there. It's an amazing night. It's a lot of fun, and just a chance to dress up in black tie and have a nice dinner.